What's going on, Spittin Chiclets fans? Biz here, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of the ECHL Player Relief Fund interview series brought to you by Boykies. What is Boykies, you ask? Boykies is a delicious air-dried beef biltong. It's a healthier version of jerky, made in the USA with high-quality ingredients. More protein, half the sodium, and zero sugar. Not only does Boykies make an amazing product, but they have been generous enough to donate $10,000 to the ECHL Player Relief Fund and will be offering fans a Biz20 promo code for any product on the Boykies.com website for 20% off. We know times are not easy right now, so we're trying to give you as much content as we can. So we hope you enjoy this interview, and please stay safe, and once again, thank you to Boykies.
Folks, we got this guy back on the podcast, one of my favorite former teammates. He started his own reality show, kind of like Meet the Duggars, because he's got about 27 kids. But I want to welcome back Adrian Aucoin to the Spittin Chiclets podcast. What's going on, buddy?
Glad to be here.
So we had the incident where
he knocked on the door 100. He tried breaking the door down.
I thought the feds were coming back in.
Let me in the room.
Had to wake RA up. Yeah. I'm following you on Twitter, man.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, this guy, when he goes away, has a time.
Yeah, I uncook it a little bit when I get on the road.
Yeah.
I don't do it much anymore, you know? And when I'm around these guys, it's like...
Wait, are we talking about the fact the other night how he ate edibles and then he was posting on social media and the TikTok? Do your kids have TikTok?
My kids do have TikTok.
What is TikTok? Do you even know?
Well, my daughter's got like thousands of followers because she's a goofball.
No.
Like, oh yeah, she gets like one of her things has over 100,000 likes. Like she just
that's big.
She goofs around. She's hilarious. So
really,
yeah.
Maybe she could help us grow our TikTok.
She probably could.
We could do a little
Get
collab.
the younger crowd.
Yeah, we can
the
get
younger crowd.
How old is she?
15.
So we can get the 15-year-old girl crew. Like, hey, Ellie, shit, you got no chance now. We got the TikTok crew.
Speaking of kids, we talked about your oldest son last time you were on.
Yep.
Now he's playing in the USHL, preparing for his first year at college next year.
Potentially, college now it's rarely true freshmen. They don't, they'd rather wait, and sometimes it's better. There's a possibility he's playing pretty well, and he just got like ranked in the players to watch for the NHL draft this year.
Nice.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Yeah,
he's doing good.
Where is he? What team?
Tri-City.
All right,
Kearney, Nebraska.
Yeah, good place to play. Awesome. I remember playing there.
Young coaches, they have a blast. They literally make me want to play hockey again.
Have you been able to go to a bunch of games?
A couple games on the road.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about a 10-hour drive.
You ride the bus with them? Remember last time you were doing it, right?
Yeah, I had to hold my pee in for like 9 hours. Yeah.
Dehydrate yourself.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go back to the bus?
No. I bust his balls all the time, so that was his first time ever with the group. So I'm just like, dude, just have your fun.
Go enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And he's like, I think they enjoyed that you're on there, though, Dad. Like, I thought it was all about me, but they seemed to like you more. Like, he was kind of a little rattled, but he had a good time.
What's initiation? Does that type of stuff still happen?
So they had a rookie party. They went out to some small restaurant, and they all dressed up like women. And I guess the guy who dressed up the best didn't have to pay, and 2 guys wanted. He didn't. Guess how much his rookie meal was?
I was gonna say
$600.
Oh, I was gonna say like $120.
$73. It was awesome.
They all got,
and they were stressed over it.
They all got French fries and a burger from McDonald's.
Yeah,
Sick rookie
that's
meal.
what I paid for a round last
night. They had
night.
a blast. Yeah. No, and then so one of their first road trips on the bus ride back, it was like a 3-hour bus. They made the rookies get up and tell stories. He's like, Dad, it was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Oh, he was buzzing. He was loving telling them?
Like, they just had to come up with stuff, and the young guys. And he goes, it's always funny, right? Because a couple guys who are quieter, and they don't, all of a sudden they get up on the mic and something happens and magic starts. So he was like, it was unbelievable.
You see some people, like true personalities kind of come out that you don't really know otherwise.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Is your son a good storyteller?
He's his son. He probably. Yeah,
I was going to say at team events, this guy would find the mic and everybody would be in tears. Remember when at
team events or like road trip or even trips down to the Caribbean, whatever. I mean, it all works.
Remember at Jovanovski's Halloween party? And then Oliver dressed up as was it Harry Potter, and he looked identical to Harry Potter. He looked more like Harry Potter than Harry Potter looked like Harry Potter.
There was a little bit of drama that Halloween party.
It was, yeah. We had all the decorations in the pool. It was a bit of a fucking sideshow.
Is this when Biz brought like the stripper and all the wives were like?
Was it that one?
No, that was
one?
when we did at what was
at that little bar,
the wine bar.
Yeah, Radoslav Kesla.
So what? You brought a stripper to a film team
No,
function?
so I've told the story on the
her
podcast.
titty was popping out, and he's like, "Oh boy!" And then the boys are like, "That was unreal, Biz."
So I brought this playmate to a Halloween party. Awesome girl. She's actually married now. And she was.
In case the husband's
that lucky guy. That lucky guy.
So she took migraine medication, and the doctor hadn't told her that you can't drink on it. Okay. So she had a couple drinks. Remember, she got up and sang the rap song, and she didn't even look at the karaoke screen, and everyone's like, "Damn, this girl's fucking cool."
And then she passed out.
And then
Kim Basinger on blind date.
Cold.
No. Next thing you know, I look over, and she pours a full glass behind the bar, just dumps it on the floor, and I walk up to her because I saw it, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Not everything's about you, Paul." She puts her finger in my face, like to push me away. And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What the fuck has just happened in the last 15 minutes? Like something's not right."
Like she's on drugs.
Well, next thing you know, she's running off, and then we had to go get Jack, who was like our driver. If somebody needed a ride from the airport, he had to go like find her. I had to call her friend. I had to like get Jack to drive her over. But in the midst of like getting all this chaos sorted and figuring out how we were going to get her back to her friend's house, she had this Pocahontas outfit on, and the string had fallen off, and her gorgeous fake bombs were just hanging out, and all the wives are mortified, so they shift to the outside.
Oddly enough, the wives were more intrigued by her than the guys were.
Well, they were more just like
always the case.
And not one of them went over and was like, "Hey, honey, your tits are hanging out."
They're like, she doesn't know anyone, and look how she's acting. This is incredible.
Yeah. So I felt mortified for the girls, because not often you get the whole gang together. And the next day at the rink, I came in and I was like, "Boys, I am really sorry." Yeah, I remember Ray Whitney coming up and being like, "Sorry." That was the most entertainment I've had in years.
Besides the Tico Torres dressing up like Derek Jeter.
No, Jay-Z.
Like the one Hispanic hockey player who is the least racist guy I've ever met gets burnt for being a racist because he dressed up like, was it Jay-Z?
He dressed like Jay-Z.
And this guy tweeted
Time out. So, listen, my mother's half black. I didn't know, as naive as it sounds, I didn't know what blackface was at that time.
I think a lot of people did.
No.
And now that social media is a thing, I think more people are aware of it. And of course, I apologize after. I didn't want to be insensitive to anyone. I thought that it was a great costume, and he dressed like his favorite rapper. I saw no harm in it. Of course, lesson learned. Now, his black agent had to go on TSN in order to defend him. Like, he has a black agent.
That happened now, we'd have no Spittin Chiclets anymore. We'd be done.
We can get the Canadian Prime Minister involved. What?
Okay.
What?
Okay.
What?
Let's not even go there. Okay, so one other thing I told the story to these guys last night at dinner was, were you around when Tommy Powers was around?
No, he came right after me.
Oh, okay. I got it. Do you know who he is?
The strength coach. Yeah.
So Tommy Powers was the strength coach. He was in Florida for a little bit as well. He helped Yager. Unbelievable guy. I think he's married to Phil Housley's daughter now. Anyway, he played in the ECHL and he was not very good. Like he played like a handful of games. So Jans being Jans came in the rink one day, and we had a few sick D guys had the flu. And mind you, I'm in the dressing room. I'm warming up. If we need a D to go in,
used to play D.
I used to play D. So Jans goes up to Brad Tree Living and he goes, "Hey, I'm going to tell Tommy that he might be playing." and Tree Living kind of like went along with it. So he went up and was like, "Tommy, like we're down a couple D. Like you might be playing." So he's fucking in the hallway doing a dynamic warm up. He's calling his family, telling them like, "Hey, watch the game tonight. I might be in." And we got fucking surveillance video of our fucking fitness guy, our PT guy doing fucking the karaoke in the hallway. So that was
no, but the funniest part was, so I asked Keith Jans about this last night on text, and he goes, the best part was Donor the next day was like, "Are you fucking kidding me, Tommy? You really think you could play in the NHL?" Keith goes, Donor was legit. Like more, he goes, "We work our whole lives to play in this league, and you think you could just hop in and play?"
Yeah.
Biz was a scratch. We would have played Biz. So just the fact
we don't know, just like crushed his dreams.
No, Powers is like, "I've seen Biz play. I still think I could have got in before."
Not challenging.
Any funny Yan stories off the top of your head that you can remember?
Did I tell the one about the bread last time? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Shoot,
My
I
oldest
remember.
boy, Kyle, but I mean, you saw you'd come over, so you know all my kids, but my oldest boy, he'd come to the rink all the time. He literally, God bless him, we had 31 kids on that team between all the married. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was like romper room. So they'd all come in, they'd be goofing around. Even during the games, you'd see them, the sweet kids are jumping up and down, and my kid would literally be the one like watching the game.
He
Like,
loved
just
the
hockey.
game.
He likes to have fun as much as anybody, but so we bring him down the lounge. I remember we used to get their lunches catered. We get like an Italian thing one day, and they'd come with that big baguette of bread. One day, Jans walks in, buck naked with a big baguette, just like
In his junk area?
yes. And Kyle looks over. He's like, oh shit. Jans runs out, and literally the next few years. Remember when Keith had the bread on his penis?
Like your son will never forget
Never.
that moment.
It was awesome. Like even to this day, he's like, remember Jans? And of course Jans, because now he's going to Harvard. Jans is like, dude, when I retire, is he still gonna be playing there? Or you're coming to Boston? I'm like, as long as you get the bread, we're good, man.
Yeah. Oh, fucking yeah.
But the amount of stories. I mean, he was texting me the other day, and I guess he asked one of the kids to get magazines for like the shitter. He's like, dude, go get some magazines. And the kid goes, like, this is another player. The kid goes, I don't have a car.
No.
Yeah, and Jans is like, I didn't ask you for a fucking ride. Like, go get magazines.
I don't care how you get
I
that.
was going to say, what are magazines?
And Jans literally goes to me. He goes, if I would have said something like that to you guys would have beat the shit out of me. Like,
Oh, my
he
God.
goes, am I missing something? I'm like, it's a different game, man. It's like,
Well, you were talking about seeing those. You were kind of the old grumpy guy coming in because you thought the Flyers guys were dressing like shit.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
Yeah, so I come in the elevator, or I come up the elevator to whatever the lobby is, and I see these guys are massive now. Like I'm like a midget compared to like.
Well, you've also lost about 30 pounds from your
Probably.
playing weight.
And they're all like wearing sweats. One guy's got like a winter hat. Another one's got a hat on backwards. And I'm just like, I literally played for some coaches that we could not wear anything but our suit even on days off.
So I had one team, Anaheim, where days off we could wear jeans, but like golf shirt,
Yes.
collared shirt.
Yeah, collared
This
shirt.
morning we went to Starbucks with Kevin Hayes.
Yeah.
He had on a fatigue hoodie with like joggers on, and I was like, you're allowed to be like in the hotel.
Yeah,
Like this,
yeah.
no, none of that matters anymore.
Yeah, Keenan was the first coach that I had who said you can wear jeans on the road. And I remember even then Pat Quinn was like, oh, geez, we've battled for like, to respect all these years. And
so fucking corny, isn't it? Like a suit's going to be a fucking
yes.
difference.
So
You said
anyway,
Pat Quinn?
Yeah, Pat. He was our GM when I was in Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah. And
I don't know if you've listened to the podcast. I've told some great Pat Quinn stories.
Yes.
One of them. Did you hear the one about when he was like, "I'll talk to the captains"?
No.
So Steve Stais,
Yeah.
Ethan Moreau, and Horkoff are in before the year in Edmonton. I think captain and the two assistants.
Yeah.
Those three guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, Pat, we're wondering for the dress code, what the deal is. We're going on the road tomorrow, start the year. And he's like, let me talk to the captains. I'll get back to you. They're like, we are the captains.
Yep.
The Dustin Penner one's pretty good too, where he showed up in a suit on a practice day, thought it was the game day.
Yeah, that was a great one. He came in for a 10 o'clock meeting before pregame skate with the lineup on the board in his three-piece suit, and we're like, the game's tomorrow, Pat.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Any fun ones about him?
You weren't around him as much, right?
I didn't have any as many fun ones because I was young, and he was like, he literally was
Scary.
like the Godfather.
Yeah.
He came in one time and he pulled, you've obviously heard the Scotty Bowman story about him having guys' autograph.
Yep.
So Pat wasn't the autograph, but he did a similar thing, like just checking who came in. We had an afternoon game, and guys all rolled, like maybe like 8 or 9 guys rolled in at like 2, 3 a.m. And we had I think a 1 o'clock game.
Oh, I thought you meant after the game they went out. No, this
is
Night before.
the night before, which guys used to do and play guilty, and some guys played better that way.
Yeah.
And we lost, and he literally punched a full Gatorade jug, and it went flying across the room.
He was a thick dude, too.
We were just, you didn't want to piss him off. And God bless him, he literally was like a dad when I came up. He would keep it simple. He barely talked to the players like, one-on-one. He was more generalized. And the one thing he said to me one time, he goes, you're a young kid. Don't ever fucking go to your backhand. All right. And like walked away. That was
Really?
it. And he literally, because I remember one time at the blue line, you kind of make a move, you go to the backhand,
It's usually a disaster, especially in your own zone.
don't ever go to your backhand.
Well, once we got to tell the story about the autograph, the sticks, though, because we kind of glanced over it. Some people have just started listening to the podcast.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Scotty Bowman, I don't know if he did it a lot or one time.
Lou Lamoriello as well.
So the move was that he'd pay the bellman.
Yeah.
And as you came in, he'd say, "Hey, so-and-so, can you sign my stick? I know you play for the Red Wings." And then he just had the guy ask people after midnight to sign
curfew.
the stick. So you're signing away your death notice.
Yeah. And back then, they didn't have curfew a ton, right? So it was kind of like, if they had a curfew, it was like, don't fuck around. It was. And then the one time I heard the bellman actually wrote the time. When a guy autographed it, he would write the time down.
1:24.
Go on, snitch.
What a
Holy
fucking
shit.
weasel.
At that point, you got to come in at like 6:30 and be like, "I just woke up and went for coffee."
Grab a newspaper and walk in.
I've done that a few times. I did it here when we ended up beating Chicago in 6.
Yeah.
On that, I went out with Ray Emery at the time. We were out. Dave Bolin.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So speaking of Chicago, we didn't really talk too much about your time here last time we had you on, and I was just looking at the roster. We just talked to Duncan Keith the other day. Outstanding interview. He was kind of low-key personality, people think, but he opened up quite a bit here. I wanted to ask you, did you know when you played those couple years with him how good he was going to be?
So he was, I believe, like a second rounder. Seabrook, the prior year, Seabrook was a first rounder, I think, that year.
In the 03 draft, best draft of all time. I was fourth rounder.
And then Cam Barker was like the next one. And Seabrook was obviously like the guy. I think, wasn't he like third overall?
No, Barker was third overall.
Barker, but Seabrook was high too. So Seabrook was actually supposed to be like the guy, and he was. He was really good. Probably actually way more offensive than Keith was. But Keith in the minors had Trent Yanni, who loved him.
Yeah,
and
we talked all about it.
Absolutely. And Keith, I mean, he earned every inch. Like, he's a kid who went to college, didn't work out well, went to the Western League, and like battled. Like, you'd see, like, he doesn't fight off. You see him fight.
He's
like,
got a
he
mean
jumped
streak.
like some kid from Columbus to 1 year who was like 6'5" and beat the shit out of him. I was just like, out of nowhere, we're like, holy, he's just got it in him.
Yeah.
So Keith started playing more and more, and I'll be honest, I didn't see him being as good as he ended up being, but you knew he was going to be like a minute muncher because he would do like those VO2 rides and they'd kick him off the bike.
I was pissed.
He wouldn't stop.
I forgot to ask him. I've been told it was Lance Armstrong numbers on
like,
VO2.
And
Lance
used to
Armstrong
have
got all the juice in the
before.
world.
When I was in Vancouver, we used to do the one with the hard one, the mask,
The one where you're dying.
everything.
They plug your nose.
Yeah, like
Yes.
Top Gun.
So
pilot.
here in Chicago, they put us on a bike and said, go as long as you can, and got harder and harder and harder. Most guys averaged, let's say, anywhere from like 12 to 15 minutes. He went for like 25 minutes.
They're like, all right.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
great,
and he didn't even ride the bike in the summer. I think he ran.
Yeah,
Because he's like, I just think running's better. And so the odd thing about them, so Keith lived at my house for a little while. He had surgery, so I brought him into my house. Seabrook, back then, we didn't need roommates because I was old enough. I still had Seabrook as my roommate just because the coach was like, can you help the kid? Absolutely, he's a great kid. And I kept telling those guys, it'll get better. Because my 2 years here,
you guys were
by far the worst 2 years of my career. And
no
it was just
fans.
Everything. 4,000 fans.
Oh.
You literally yell at your kids across the building, sit down. Shut up,
Yeah, not on TV either.
It was no TV.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy to me.
She's like, can you help me with these kids?
I'm like, I'm working here. She's like, not very well.
You're on your she's like, get off your backhand.
Yeah, get the fuck back on D.
No, like, I battled injuries. We had, nor will I, like, we had a great group. Like, I ran into the trainers. So I rarely go down to the rink. I'll see them sometimes at the practice rink because that's where my kids play. And the trainers last year were like, we were just talking about you. I'm like, oh, great. Like, what now? And they're like, those years that you were here, we had so much fun because we included the trainers and everything. It was almost like the last couple years of old school, right?
Yep.
Where they would come to dinners with us. We'd have like wrestling matches in the locker room. They would I remember one time Barnaby wrestled our equipment guy. We'd like taped out an octagon and like we're betting on it. And it was just like, we had so much fun, but our on ice product was pretty shitty.
I'll agree with that, where I feel like there's way more of a disconnect between the players and trainers now, where like I go in there and see Stan, you can tell he's like, he glows when he sees the older guys because the interaction was just there. Like if I walked in a restaurant or any player did and the trainers were eating, it was automatic where one of the guys was going to say, hey, we got the tab.
Like per diems. Like
per diem.
We used to get it, in our little brown envelope.
Yeah,
and
right
just
over
chuck it to the trainers. Like it just...
And I was actually talking to Ray Whitney recently, and he goes, it amazes me if I was a GM the number one person I would go to ask about guys? Trainers.
Yeah.
How are you treating the people that are helping you get the job done that are quote unquote beneath you?
Yeah.
Like, and I say that with quotations as they're not. Yeah. They're the most important assets in the locker room.
Yeah.
They're getting everything
Well,
done.
and you
They
see
don't
how
sleep.
certain guys, like I play this one guy, I'm not going to mention any names, he literally, like, they'd be at a bar and they'd be like talking to girls, and the one guy'd be like, he hangs my fucking jocks. Like, totally.
What a fucking
Like,
douchebag.
talk about getting the shit beat out of him next day in practice, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's.
I've heard of guys in the league making like $5-6 million and not tipping.
Well,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I played one of my Chicago stories was we played with a guy like that, and unfortunately, but that was the shit we dealt with when we were in Chicago because we sucked on. You know
When you suck
when you're
on the ice,
losing, everything trickles down, right? And Trent Yanni, who was a good guy, and like probably like when he was in the minors, he developed like almost all those kids that came up, but in the NHL, his plate was too full.
Team wasn't good.
He had to worry about shit like that.
Yeah.
About having a meeting about a guy not wanting to tip a trainer, and I'm like, man, Jan's like, I hate to say it, but our problems are bigger. Like, we need to worry about our on ice. And even though we would, we'd work it, and I would being the captain, I would have to be like, you need to tip them. And they'd be like, I don't understand. Like, nobody helped me when I was a kid. They're doing their job, and
Jesus Christ,
a lot of times, like Russian
they
guys,
just
because
didn't get
they
it,
grew up in
They
a
just
different
didn't
way.
get it
It's not
right.
their
Well, it's
fault.
also people don't understand the hours these equipment managers.
They don't have social lives.
You don't. So during the season, you won't really sleep. If you do, it's on a couch in the locker room half the time. And like you land and everyone goes to the hotel and sleeps. Dude, they have like 3 hours left once you land.
And they
It's
like
just,
the grease and the gears of the league, pretty much.
And for the most part,
yeah.
they say yes to everything. They're like great guys. Like, they love the players, most of them anyways.
They
And
just
these guys-
motherfuck the guys behind their back that they don't
some,
like.
well, some of them, right? Like, like
Most people have seen those HBO 24/7s,
Yeah.
like hockey fans. Like when we land in a city at like 2 a.m. and there might be a game or practice the next day, we go to our comfy beds at a 5-star hotel. They go to the rink to hang up our sweaty, stinky gear until 4 or 5 in the morning. I remember Yuka, God rest his soul, he was our massage therapist. And he would, if it was like a fun road trip, he would always pack beers in certain bags. And then, of course, they would be cold by the time you got there because you were flying high altitude and stuff. So it would be like a mystery which bag would have a beer, and they would crack beers and make the most of it. That was like old school shit.
And most of they're like a brotherhood too, as you guys know. Like those guys, man,
they all have to work in
they
tandem,
stick together. And a lot of times, the first call when a kid's traded, it's like trainer to trainer.
How is
What's
he?
he like?
I know.
Right away. What's he like?
Prick, cheap
like,
fuck,
motherfucker.
It's kind of become a question, I guess, this week. We got to ask you about playing again. Not that long here, but Big Buff. He was young at the time. What was he like as a teammate?
He was almost like a freak of nature, right?
Yeah,
because he's a big dude. I think at one point he was weighing over like 280, but he's literally word of a lie. But he literally still played like he was like 200 pounds. Like the kid. There was a point when he got called up to Chicago. They had him on like B12 shots, like to lose weight and everything. And this is kind of when training started happening, but obviously it wasn't really in his repertoire. And Dale Talon is literally it's training camp, walking down Rush Ave here, and he's on the freaking patio eating like fries,
So that's the story.
Fries and mayonnaise or something.
Yeah.
Like it's
They
just
couldn't
like,
remember who had that story. It was
like
you.
literally they're like, what? He got sent down to Norfolk. When they tried to call him up, he didn't want to come up.
Yeah, did he?
Because Norfolk was right on Virginia Beach or whatever. It was beautiful. They loved it.
No, I'm good.
And and he loved
like
it. But
this
he
place.
came up here and we're like, this kid's really good. And he just the poor guy and Yanni was all over him because he had him and and he knew what kind of player he could be. So he was kind of bummed. It was hard for him just to be that.
He's like, let me be this big and play. Stop.
Yeah.
But
I'm
he
good
could do
this
it.
big.
Yeah,
Leave
he
me
could do
alone.
it. And
He could,
now,
yeah.
so I think most guys who know him are 100% not surprised what's going on.
Yeah.
Because he's the kind of guy that would rather be in Minnesota fishing.
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
say that he doesn't love the game and love his teammates and stuff, but I think it's just a lot for him. I mean, it's a lot for a lot. Every day showing up and being on time and working your ass off. It's not for everybody. He's just got the God-given talent.
I don't know if this is the case for a lot of guys, but in the course of a season, the amount of anxiety I would experience just from like, you're always constantly, am I on time? Do I have a meeting? Am I missing something? Am I eating proper? Like there's just it's this is coming from a guy who sat out half the games. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, but I think that would make your anxiety actually a little higher.
Yes, because you have to do everything.
Because you know if you mess up anything, you're fucked. Whereas if you're a first liner, you
just
have
get in a
routine,
leeway. Right?
It's harder for guys like you almost. But still,
I would sympathize more for guys like a guy like Big Buff, because like not only are all those things added onto your plate, he also has to worry about playing in a Canadian city. He has to worry about the media. He's kind of like the guy that everyone wants to talk to there, and he's got to worry about his performance.
Everything about it. I mean, you look at those. I literally was just driving in there talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're saying how like Morgan Riley, who's a rock star, the kid's like so unhappy. You watch when he plays, he almost just looks down like he's in Toronto. Like the pressure.
It is a curse if playing to me in Toronto, and I know that they're
unless you go 60 and 22.
Yeah.
60 and 22.
Yeah.
That's like the only option of it, and you're still gonna catch some heat throughout that year.
Yeah,
it's you make a lot of money, and you deserve the money, but it's a grind. People think we probably sound like babies, but you don't understand until you play that there's days you're just like, fuck, man, this is not coming easy to me.
I mean, it was Zaitsev who ended up just saying, hey, like I just can't play. I mean, now he's back. He's in Ottawa. He's in Ottawa, another Canadian market, not Toronto.
But it's not Toronto.
No.
I want to ask you, how do you feel about Tip so far since joining Edmonton?
I love it.
Did you see that one coming?
I knew he wanted to get back into coaching, even though he had a pretty good gig with the whole Seattle thing.
I thought he was not going to coach because he was just going to run everything there.
He likes, even when he coaches, he runs more than people. For most coaches, right? You know that he has a lot of input,
control freak.
Yes.
That was kind of the fallout between Maloney and the whole Arizona organization, and I touched on that recently on one of the podcasts where it was a shame, but like there was, one mind was going one way, one mind was going another, and as you said, he wanted his fingerprints on having. He didn't want to go through a few down years.
No,
Tip wants to win. Tip is one of the most competitive people, one of the most prepared people. That's why I'm not surprised with the start they're having. But were you concerned at all about maybe his style of coaching being outdated?
Yes and no. No, because he's all about team defense, as we knew. I mean, like, think about it. 3-on-3 overtime. Who would he start at?
3D men?
No. 2D and Vern Fiddler. God bless him. Right? God bless him. But everyone, like, you know how many times Rabada and Whitney would be like, what the fuck? Like, come on, we want to win this game. I'm like, no, let's go in the shootout. Let's just shoot out.
Was it you who told the snapping turtle joke?
Yeah.
Can you please retell it? So Vern Fiddler and Tip were like this, and he loved his style of game. That if Tip could create a player, it would have been Vern Fiddler.
Well, it was Tip.
Right?
Well, that was Tip.
Right.
Tip was like a fourth line, awesome teammate, worked his ass off. But it was another rookie party story I'd tell all the time. I'd be like, you'd always pick the right guy who. So it's like, I don't know. I always say, okay, so we're in Colorado and we just lost a game we should have won, and Tip comes in, and I would kind of mimic Tip because he'd he'd talk like this, and he wouldn't really get all serious, and he would just literally go around shitting on every guy, and then he'd go, I'm coming back. So we're all sitting there. He brings back a box and puts it on the massage table right in the middle. And he's like, now we're going to see who's tough enough. I'm sick of you pussies. You guys got to learn how to play the right way. And so he literally opens up the box, and out pops a snapping turtle. And we're all like, the fucking snap. Like, you're trying not to laugh, but you're like, this he's going to kill me if he sees me smirking. So all of a sudden he like unzips his pants, whips his schlong out, puts it right in front of the snapping turtle, and the wham, just grabs on. It's like, just like for like 30 seconds, just eyeballing us, pokes the turtle in the eyes. Turtle like scurries back in the box, and he's like, all right, that's what it's like to be a man. Is any of you guys not a pussy? If you have enough balls, I want to see one of you guys try that. And of course, nobody wants to raise their hand, and the joke was Vern Fiddler, who's a good guy, raises his hand. He goes, Tip, I'm going to do it. He goes, just don't poke me in the eyes.
So it was unbelievable. I didn't know where it was going.
Because you're like, did this really happen?
But I would tell a story about a game that we lost that pretty bad, that everybody would remember him getting so mad that to be like, oh shit, I remember this. And I remember like Verbata. He was like, God, I don't remember the turtle.
He's like, am I forgetting this whole experience?
I was a healthy scratch half the games. I'm like, what the fuck? When did he bring a snapping
You're
turtle?
like, the guys never told me about this?
I'm texting guys while he's telling me. I'm like, when the fuck did this happen? So then he drops the punchline and the whole room fucking erupts.
Nothing's better than when a guy and a coach are just boys and you can give it to them. Scuds and Terry, and like, they weren't boys in that sense, but Terry just loved them so much. We started calling him Bobby Scuds for Bobby Orr. He would get so rattled. I'm like, oh fuck, Bobby Scuds, go out there. You can handle this fun. It's just like perfect when you can bust a guy's balls on that. I was never a coach's friend.
We have so here we do a lot of alumni stuff, and Brian Noonan, who played with the 94.
B. Noonan, yeah.
awesome,
Guy.
yeah, awesome dude. One of the nicest guys. When I was a rookie in Vancouver, I think that was the last team he played for. So we hung out and taught me how to drink
Keenan
beer.
loved him.
But the funny thing is, everybody would always bust his balls about being Keenan's boy. But he's like, Keenan never ever even talked to him.
Yeah.
Like Keenan will almost shit on him, but he played on like Rangers, Chicago, St. Louis.
He scored that cup winning goal that they gave to
Vancouver.
Messi.
He would like literally Keenan would trade for him everywhere. But so Noonan was so defensive. He's like, he didn't even like me. We're like,
well, he brought you everywhere.
Yeah. He like signed him a big ticket in St. Louis. Like it's like you say, it opens up a freaking door.
Oh, you're just like, I'm just gonna get tortured for this.
Did you see him a lot, B. Noonan?
I used to, but he just had another kid, so now he doesn't go to the ring. I skate on like Wednesdays, a bunch of old guys.
Did we talk last time about Keenan on the team flights with you in was it in Calgary?
Calgary and Vancouver. Yeah.
But you said it got weirder in Calgary, right?
No, but like Vancouver was probably the weirdest because he literally, think about it, the 94 Ranger team won against Vancouver. So when he took over Vancouver in like 96 or 97, that was almost the whole team.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to fire sale every guy out of there. He hated Trevor Linden. He hated like Marty Jelena, who nobody hates. He hated all the old D that were there. He just
wanted to come in and just.
He thought they were losers because they lost to them.
Absolutely,
you couldn't beat our team.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was
only game 7 out of the
You're
line.
on our team now, Mike.
Yeah, we talked to Stapleton the other day. He really fucked with him over in Russia. He said,
"Oh, really?
Yeah. He figured, North Americans all over here, the same place. It was like, it was almost like the opposite.
Yeah, you got to fight back.
Yeah,
and he'll like I give him credit. You know where you stand. Like he either loves you or he hates you. There's almost like no in between. When he took over Vancouver, I was injured.
So he liked you.
No.
Oh.
He hated injured players. So I come back, the third game he's coaching. We just happen to be playing St. Louis, who he just got fired from. We lose something like 6-1. I don't remember. I scored the only goal. So I'm like, thank God, because I know he's going to come in and like give a shit. He came in and freaking roasted everybody. Trevor Linden took the brunt of it. Like it was almost sad. Like it was bad. And then I play the next game. I play like 20 some odd minutes. Third game, I make one bad pass. Scratch. Done. Played one shift. Done. Then I was in and out of the lineup.
Wait, the one bad pass that game, you didn't see the ice the rest of that game and scratch
and
the
then
next.
Scratch the next game.
But you had Brian Burke there as a general manager, did you not?
Yeah.
And then you said he was unbelievable.
I
the way
love
he handled
players.
things.
Love Berkey. Berkey literally. So another thing, I just heard him. They're talking about Phil Kessel.
I heard
Did
him
you hear that? Saying
on NHL radio.
Yeah, and
I was listening to that.
He
just the other
literally
day.
goes, Phil, do you want me to go like light a fire on these guys and diffuse, like because Phil was taking so much heat in Toronto, and Phil's like, why? He's like, because they're all over you. He goes, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's why people love Phil and that's why people hate Phil.
Because he won't acknowledge
He
them.
doesn't care.
Doesn't give a
Yeah.
But that's
doesn't care
that's
what
the
you
attitude you need in Toronto.
yeah,
People
and
get so mad when people don't care.
Yeah.
They get like a why don't you fucking
Yeah.
care that I'm ripping on you?
But Berkey was like that, man. He would like go to bat for his players, but he would never show it in the media. Like he was.
Berkey actually so on Sportsnet now. He'll do that radio once a week,
Okay.
and then he goes Sportsnet radio, and a couple nights he'll do like Wednesday night, whatever. He's pretty good. He's got so many stories,
He's
dude.
unbelievable.
He remembers all these.
Yes.
stories.
I think he's a 10
genius.
out of 10. I think some of his points are a bit outdated.
Yeah.
I think that like he's a little stubborn in his ways
Oh,
now.
he's stubborn.
Oh, yeah.
When you
Very
have a
old
little,
school.
yeah, when
just
you have
a wee bit.
when you have a
Stay up,
resume,
I got a buck on you.
when you have a resume like that, I mean, I guess you can be, and you
Yeah.
know, you've seen success and you've seen failures, and
He no, like even when he traded me, so he was like as much of a like he was kind of a bastard to play for, like one of the worst. But he knew the game, and he was big on like this is like back late 90s, like stick-on puck stuff you never heard of. I'm like, no, you're supposed to break his wrist. Like the guy, like
We're supposed to can opener.
yeah, like everything. And he was like, no, just you don't have to rush and slam guys. And Keenan was like, go after guys, nail them, like full speed. And Crawford was more detailed. And my game at the time didn't jive with him, and he was all over me. So, and my ice time started going down. And Burke was like, listen, like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I think at the time I might have been the highest paid D or second highest paid. And I'm like, I'm playing like a number 6 here. And Berkey's like, if I can get your ice time back, will you be happy? I'm like, I love everything about the team, the players, coach, everything. Well, not Crawford, but the staff. Vancouver was great. So the next game, 25 minutes, started just going down again. And there was one game where I played like 10 minutes, and Berkey literally talked to me after the game. He's like,
that's it.
Do you want me to move you? And I'm like, yeah. And he traded me.
He's
Like,
the only
just like
coach.
Just like that.
Speaking of intense coaches, we talked about Keenan a lot the last time you were here. I know you only had like a cup of coffee in Tampa, but did you play for Torts at all?
I loved him.
Did you?
I absolutely loved him. He was different then, though, because that's when he was coming up. Remember, they had Vinny, Marty.
Yeah.
And that's when Vinny was the only guy who really didn't like him that much in Tampa time was Vinny, because Vinny was so good and wasn't used to being coached.
And he made him play D, and like he was like,
literally made him play the right way. And I'm telling you, that's one of the reasons why they won the cup.
Yeah.
So like a year later, we had a training camp. A couple years later, I think I was in Calgary, and we went to like Seattle for a game, and I remember seeing Marty and Vinny. I'm like, how's it going? They're like, I'm like, man, you congrats on the cup and everything. And they're just like, oh, God, and so Torts evolved. But, I always say, if you can play your ass off, he'll like you. Like he's pretty good like that. If you work your ass off, you have to be a younger guy or a really smart veteran to play for him, though, because most kids don't have the legs or the drive to play for him. He like really seeks perfection. He's tough to play for, and I know he's got different tactics. But
do you watch a lot of regular season hockey now?
Not a ton, because I'm at the rink with the kids a lot, but I try to. I get home, I'll always watch a little bit.
We got a visitor.
Oh.
Hey, I'm here.
This is my life.
Biz got his 11 o'clock massage coming.
How many?
Fluff pillow?
Like you say, you're always at the rink. What is the schedule like for you? Practice game.
So I have my
one guy's out of the house.
One guy and my daughter. So here's the thing: my daughter, she's a freshman at Iowa. Okay, and she's having the time of her life. God bless her. Iowa's a freaking awesome.
Oh my God!
school.
Do they have a sorority or what was it
She
called?
just got into a sorority.
Oh,
Big time party school, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Luckily, she's like our rock, because she's like, I'll have two. She goes, she times it. She's so scared. She's like, by 9, I'll have 2 drinks, and then I'll just kind of hang out. And like, she's super smart about it. She's like the nicest kid in the world. Or maybe she's got the wool pulled over my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah.
She was buckled at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Pink
Girls
Whitney.
Gone Wild. Hey, you're flicking through the channels.
Yeah. No.
Listening to Call Me Daddy.
Yeah.
That's my daughter.
We're gonna have a scrap. Yeah.
So she left this year as a freshman. My son left to go play junior. So we're like 2 out of the house.
Wow.
Should almost be like a little bit easier, even though my wife's like worried about them all the time. But now we forgot, like, we want to visit her. Like, next weekend I'm going for Dad's weekend. The weekend after I'm going for Parents weekend. So it's going to be like, and you go to games.
Frank the
like
Tank.
We're going to the quad.
They're going streaking.
So it added a whole element of even more shit that we had on our plate. And so my 2 little guys practice every Monday, Wednesday downtown. My daughter practices every Tuesday, Thursday. And then every weekend, at least one of them's gone. So I'm gone. I'm literally, most of my neighbors, when I first moved back to Chicago, they thought I was avoiding them. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm just at the rink every night, and I'm gone. And back then, when I first moved, I was
they're
working
getting
for
pissed.
Blackhawks. So
They're getting pissed you didn't come to the potluck.
Yeah.
And plus, you're a bunch of assholes.
Key party.
Oh yeah, you swing.
Potentially. Potentially.
Wow, this is a great neighborhood.
When you were playing, did you ever play with a swinger, like guys who were swingers and they were vocal about it?
I did not play with any, but I've heard.
I've heard of swingers.
Yeah.
I've heard of swingers. Yeah, I'm not gonna name names, but I've heard. of
There's a few
Yeah.
100% definite, because I know guys personally who were involved in some of the stories. That were like, what did you do? What was I supposed to do? One of those.
Yeah.
So
I just blow them.
That is so
wake
odd.
up, wake up.
know.
There are some guys who literally, like, this is probably actually before I even came in the league, but there was like guys that would like bring their girlfriend on road trips because they flew commercial. So they just buy an extra ticket.
Oh my god!
Like it was like weird stuff, and I've never played with guys that did that, but I've heard stories, and they're like confirmed stories.
That's
like,
wild. So when you started in the league, it was commercial. Because same with Donor.
Yeah.
So
we
any
talked about that. I remember.
we talked to
some guys
Donor
would get
about
like
it.
middle seats, like and you would stay after every game. So literally the entire team would go out. Right, you had to.
And then it was the earliest flight.
The
out of
7
there.
a.m.er,
Yeah.
and it was just like
Hell,
guys with
brutal.
puke bags on the plane.
Going through the airport.
Some guys like Gino Ojic, God bless him. He is like one of the nicest. Like I was just thinking because of the whole Donald Brashear thing that came out. So I was thinking of the tough guys I played with in Vancouver, and we had a lot of them. Gino would always fall asleep, didn't matter where. Like the big Indian, right? He would just so guys would take his shoes, you know. And then he wouldn't even get. I've seen him walking through terminals with no shoes on, just because like fuck it, I'm not even gonna like look like they're in like the overhead in row 30, and he
doesn't care.
No, like it was the stories from those.
With Donor told me the one about how sometimes guys would wrap a dildo in tinfoil, and because they would have to go through like the TSA security, and then the alarm bells would be going off, and this guy whips out the dildo like, whose dildo is this? And like, you got him.
Yeah.
Any other funny airport stories?
It was just more like a mad rush. Because like literally some guys be taking cabs there. Like it was just like holy shit. Like you can't if you miss a flight. Well, the good news if you missed a flight, you just book another one.
So guys did puke
it's
then,
true.
because because we were seeing the other day. Who was it? Someone saw guys didn't puke at practice, but guys would puke on the airplanes, huh?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that's different though.
Yeah, no, the flying. I understand it. Another pit stop we didn't get to much last time. The island, Long Island. Another Massachusetts guy you played for, Peter Laviolette.
Yeah,
What was that like?
loved him.
You-
Loved him. He-
similar to Torts.
Not as demanding.
Okay.
More of a player's coach.
Yeah.
He loved like go. Like he wanted the D to jump up. He wanted the forwards to jump up. I mean, if you look at that roster we had there, you know, obviously we had Yashin who was making $9 million, but he might have been one of our weaker players on the team because he was like, no, give me puck. I want to score.
Oh, that's why I want to ask you about him too. Yeah.
Like back check. No, they pay me to score. Like he literally would argue over it. And I was just like, come on, man. Like, and then the owner who just passed away, him and Yashin were like good buddies.
Yeah.
And the owner, I had lunch with him, and he's like, it's your job to get him to do that. I'm like, you're paying him $9 million to be the best, and you're telling me? He's like, no, I'm paying him $9 million to score. And I'm like, dude, it's a
You don't
hockey
get
thing.
it, buddy.
It's a hockey
You don't
thing,
get
man.
it.
Like, and Yashin is one of the nicest. He's such a nice guy, but he literally just wanted to score.
Did you play with Batesy there?
We had Bates Battaglia on, and he, I don't think he knew what the fuck this podcast was.
No,
he was
different.
different.
Sean
Sean
Bates.
Bates.
I thought you were saying
This
Bates
He's probably
Battaglia.
pushing 400 LBs right now.
I haven't seen him in forever. He was such a he used to gain like
Medford, Mass.
25
Yeah,
pounds
Math.
the first couple months of the off season, and then work out 3 times a day to lose it all before camp. And he's one of the fastest players I've ever
so
seen.
Lavi,
He's a legend in Boston.
A great thing about Lavi was so I played against Lavi in the 94 Olympics. He was the
Really?
captain of the Olympic team. Okay,
Yeah,
the US
yeah,
Olympic
that's right.
team.
Yeah,
I didn't know
And
that.
he
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you could just tell he was like steady
grinder.
Like, yes. So when he took over, he loved bringing up guys like Batesy, like kind of borderline minor league NHL guys, and the one guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he brought up a good older minor league guy, and he's like, "You're going to play against Yager, all right?" And
He's like, what?
I think Yager scored a hat trick in the first period. Like it's like what the fuck? But Lavi loved that. He wanted
You're setting
guys
up
like,
to fail.
He
here,
like the
Lavi.
underdog.
But then absolutely. But then at one point, I'm telling you. So Pekka won the Selke with us, and I think that year Batesy might have been better defensively than Pekka.
He scored a bunch of shorthanded goals. I
He
remember.
just did everything right. He blocked, because he knew this was like his big chance, and Lavi gave him like the form to do
This guy
it.
at BU, he used to. So, like, the game would end at BU. I was always told this. Jay Pandolfo, Mike Greer, they'd say, Parker would come in, say, 4-5 minutes after the game ended. Even like 3 minutes. Batesy would be out of the shower and dressed in his clothes by the time the coach came in right after the game with everyone else still in all their gear. Because on the bench with like a minute or 2 minutes to go, he'd untie his skates, untape his pads, be sliding off his elbow pads. So he'd just basically like, boom, shower and be gone.
Has there ever been a point where he did it and then?
Yeah, he told me one time, Parker's like, Batesy, you got to go out there. He's like, I can't. He's like, what? He's like, my skates aren't tied. We got to get him on here. I think he might coach Medford High now.
Yeah.
So he literally, if we had a day off in Long Island, like Long Island, actually, like I loved it. Like everything about it. The people there were awesome. The ocean was there. The golf, like everything. It was like you go in the city. He literally every single day off would drive back to Medford just to party with his boys, even if it was like for like 2 hours. Like legit, you know what it's like, right?
That's
it's like,
hilarious.
He never slept at BU one night.
Yeah.
4 years at BU, didn't stay on campus one night. Went back to Medford every single night. So him coaching Medford High is so perfect.
One of the kids,
he's such a Medford kid.
One of the kids who I coached here my first year back in Chicago, and his younger brother plays at the Mission where my kids play. The dad's like, he comes up to me, he goes, like he knew he's from Boston. He goes, so you play with Batesy? He goes, yeah. And he used to hang around with his like uncles and all that. And he goes, what a crew! Like they were, I guess they were like really rough, right? Like they were.
Oh,
like,
they're getting in, like Donniebrooks every night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when he was in the National League.
No, not Batesy, but his family.
boys.
No,
His
his buddies and his uncle and his cousins. Like they were like the Bates brothers or the Bates, whatever they were. They were
The
they were real.
Gronkowskis, but like on
He
acid.
was so funny, the biggest ass ever, and he was just he was the man. The way he talks, like, what's up, Brett?
And his one eye. So he was born with one eye that doesn't work as well. So
He's
got
legally blind in that eye.
So he has a visor like down to here. So of course, back in those days, guys didn't wear visors. Guys would be all over him, and he's just like if I get hit in the other eye, I'm like, I can't see anything. But when he would drink, his eye would just go, like just completely shut. And then he starts slurring, and he's just like, just not a hygienic human being.
Hey, one other name I wanted to bring up. Wicked talented guy. I don't think people know how good he was. Marius Cherkowski. You played with him for a few years. What was the
He was
deal
on the
with him?
Bees, right?
Yeah, he was on the Bees.
Yeah.
The rumor was when he came to Boston that he scored, he could do a backflip after.
The Polish Prince.
Everybody was waiting for this
That was
backflip.
his nickname, the Polish Prince.
Everybody waited for this backflip that never came.
He literally, so one of the, so my 10-year-old team, one of the dads is Polish, and he literally just in Detroit came out to me. He comes over with his Polish accent. Coach, do you know Mariusz Cherkowski? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you know him? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, how do you know him? He's like, well, he's Polish. And I'm like, oh, you're not buddies? No, but I play. And him and the other one was Krzysztof Oliwa.
Yeah,
right.
Oliwa.
So they're the two big Polish names. But Mariusz Cherkowski, one of the, you know what he is? He's uppy.
Oh, he's always
whoa.
happy.
This is like, I gotta meet him then.
No.
Like, I want to meet this guy.
So when he retired, I think he started like being a TV guy, like a TV host over in Poland. I think he sang songs. I think he's golfing now to the point where he might even be on like the Polish tour. So he's like a rock star, but you know, guys like that, sometimes they don't jive with coaches.
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Because they're not.
Because they're so laid back where they're like, when they leave the rink, the last thing on their mind is hockey.
You know who he was good buddies with in the island was Brad Isbister. So those guys would go around and like to just like panty soup like everywhere. It was kind of like,
You know what a prime example of that is? Tip wasn't the biggest Uppy fan. Now,
and Uppy's everyone's favorite player.
and Uppy's harmless, but like it would drive me nuts as a coach when like Uppy made a saucer pass across the ice,
And then he started giggling about it.
and then he's giggling, and then he looks in the glass sometimes to like check himself out, which is like it's Uppy.
I mean, I don't blame him. I look at him.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
So-
he would do that. Jans would fucking laugh sometimes. He'd be like, "Uppy, get the play. Quit looking at yourself."
Oh, so he literally, we play in L.A., and I don't know if it might say it on there if you Wikipedia him, but he was married to Isabella Skoropka.
Yeah, the actress. Yeah.
Who was
Smoke
probably
bomb.
one of the prettiest women you could ever lay eyes. She's like, you know, she's beautiful,
Stunning.
right? And they have a kid together. So we're playing in L.A. We get on the bus, and he walks up with his ex-wife, and we're all like leaning on the bus, whatever, and we see her. She's beautiful. He gets on the bus, and I'm like, dude, like what happened? Like how did you not? And he goes, okay, you know, you got kids, right? You know, yeah. And he like talks in that like
Like he's smooth.
oh, he's unbelievable.
Let me tell you something.
So he goes,
You know how you like to hang out with your neighbors and, you know, you have the backyard barbecue and stuff?
I'm like, yeah, whatever. He goes,
I don't fucking like that.
again, he was dead serious. He wasn't. That's the way he talks all the time.
Fuck that shit.
Like, hey, let's go to Saint Tropez. Woo, let's go, man.
I want
like
to
this-
fuck
everything.
horse.
He is.
Beauty.
But he's a genuine dude. Like he was good. Like
Yeah.
he was really.
Yeah.
He was like I think he was naturally, and like you said, the backflip thing. I never heard that,
Yeah.
but he's just naturally in good shape. Like he was just jacked. and-
He's going to be working for Cirque du Soleil now. He's just got
Could
so many
be.
talents.
Yeah. No, he
Who
was
do you
good.
think you stay in touch like the most with, the guys you played with? Like who's your closest buddy from? Because it's funny.
And it's so random. Like I'm because I put on so many teams.
And
that-
you also you play with the guy. I always noticed. I was like boys with guys. You get traded no matter
like,
what. You're like, if I see you, we'll have the best night ever. But it's just
so I
we're
still
not gonna
talk to
text each
Donor
other.
quite a bit. You know who I talk to is Jans. Jans, like, he texts me randomly all the time, just stupid shit.
He probably takes an Ambien and just thinks, oh, okay.
Like, oddly enough, because of that, probably not because of the bread story, but he always asks how Kyle's doing. He's always like, "Oh man, I can't wait to watch him."
That's
play.
awesome.
He gets all excited. There's a ton of just random guys everywhere. It's just
So your son, you said about players to watch for the draft. That would be his draft years
his
this year.
draft years this year.
Where's he committed again?
Harvard?
Harvard. Is that
Which
good?
is there?
I think I've heard of it.
Why do they get some ridiculous?
Yeah, you could get in there.
They're like
every year.
The Ivies are all getting better because the U.S. hockey
Well, there's
system
just so
is
much-
just going
yeah.
like this.
Really?
Oh, geez, G's
With
hopping
this-
in
Wow,
here.
G's awake.
G's our hockey, our college hockey guy.
Well, I also think that it's changing a little bit in terms of kids would be before when the ECAC wasn't as good.
Yeah.
You could possibly go to Harvard or Yale, and kids are like, they're not that good. I want
No,
to go
why-
to Merrimack.
yeah.
And I think people now are like,
No,
the
it's
chance of
changing.
playing in the NHL,
Yeah.
like go to Harvard,
Yeah.
go to Yale, go to Brown.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
what are you
completely
thinking?
changing now, and even so, he was drafted by Sudbury in the OHL, and they're still like every other week are calling like, "Come on, man," because they got this one stud, Quinton Byfield, who might be first or second overall this year, and they keep saying, "Oh, Kyle will get way more exposure up here. He could move up just because of all the scouts." And scouts watch everywhere now.
Yeah,
and even
yeah.
like the other scouts I talked to are like, "Dude, how could you not send him to Harvard? Like, come
And
on."
you only need to be smart because we had Matt Lannon on. He was saying all he had to do.
Ryan.
Or Matt Lannon, excuse me. Matt Lannon is my grandpa's or my grandparents' neighbor.
And you went to Harvard?
No. I always get Matt Lannon and Ryan.
I think
Lannon.
you always did.
Yeah, but
I
you,
always say Matt.
you still have to get in though. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
Right, but he got in. Him and Noah Welch went, but he was saying he was finding girls on what was it, Craigslist, and he would pound them, and they would do his papers.
Yeah, it was like payment for his
Can we
papers.
not, so can we not talk about that?
Your son's gonna
Don't give him any
no,
idea. Don't give him
but
any
he's
idea.
like
Be an
he's-
engineer.
He's smart, so he's going. I think one
Well-
of the big things for Harvard liking him is because they've seen his grades and he's already blown the SATs out of the water. So they're like,
Really?
thank God. They're
So
like,
that's lucky
awesome.
for them because they
Yes,
don't have to
that's
fight.
exactly what it is.
The other thing about going to the O or whatever, if you're good enough, they will find you.
Absolutely.
It doesn't
Print-
matter.
And your
Anywhere you
clock.
are, if you're good
Your
enough,
time frame
you will
is
be
longer
found.
if you go to college too, because now you don't have to sign within the 2 years. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of teams are actually liking these college kids because they can hold on to them for 3-4 years and
See
they
how
can come
they
out
just-
whenever they
yeah.
want, as opposed to the 2 years and be like, we need to sign him or he's gone.
It's a cliche, but like cream rises to the top eventually.
Absolutely.
I mean, eventually, like you said, if you're that good,
Wow,
you'll get
put that
bust.
on a fucking T-shirt, Granelli.
So you're saying he's
Yeah,
this
400
is his
year-old
real
freak.
senior
This is
year.
his real senior high school, yeah. So he's 17, turning 18 in July.
So that's why maybe one more. All right. So high school out in Nebraska. What's he saying
So
about?
how about this? So, I was telling you, they got awesome coaches.
Yeah.
They have 6 players on the team going to high school together.
Which isn't common in the
No,
USHL.
a lot of USHL teams have 0.
Yeah.
They might have 2 kids doing like online.
Yep.
So they're having a great time. They
They're
show
in
up.
school together.
And
they're-
then, so I asked one of the coaches, I'm like, hey, have you ever had problems with any of these kids in school? He goes, one time. I'm like, what? He goes, well, the guy was hitting on the quarterback's girlfriend.
Oh wow.
And in Nebraska,
Yeah, oh,
and
God,
you're
yeah.
just like, dude, come
Yeah.
on.
Well, I remember. So I
town
went to, when
scandal.
I went to the national program.
Yeah.
And you're at school Pioneer High School in Ann Arbor. So imagine this is a huge school, like 3,500 kids in this high school. And all of a sudden, 20 of the best hockey players in the
roll
country
in.
come in. So these guys that are like have
So they
grown up
split-
with these girls are like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is this?
And you know what? Now they split them up. The national development. They send them to different schools now.
because it's now they moved to like,
Yeah, they're in Plymouth
right?
now. Yeah.
But still, I just remember, like, obviously I had 0 wheels, but the guys who did, they were just like, yeah, this girl was dating this kid from middle school, and I just came in and she likes me now. Like, this is amazing.
Well, Michigan's a different beast than Nebraska.
Yeah,
too,
Nebraska's
though.
football.
Yeah,
Nebraska's
it's,
football. Don't fuck with them.
But they're having a good time, and so they go to school. They get their 3 courses. I think they're done at 12:30. They go practice every day. He's like, this is, and I think at first he's going to be like, how am I going to do this? I'm like, man, you figure it out. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of this. And
Yeah.
my wife was a little worried, like, how's he going to manage all this stuff? And it's not their first rodeo, right?
Yeah.
The coaches help them. Like it's junior hockey.
Would I know the coach's name? You said they're younger.
Anthony Noreen. So he was doing some stuff with Tampa and Toronto, and I think in the East Coast, and he actually coached this World Junior A Challenge for like Tier 2,
Okay.
not the World Juniors,
Yep.
and they won. So I know that he's been offered some pretty good gigs, and
Nice.
he's sticking around there, which I'm happy about because he's really good for my boy. And their D coach is Ethan Goldberg, who's a Chicago. Actually, all three coaches are Chicago guys, and there's one Boston kid too, Troy Thibodeau.
Oh, okay.
But he's probably younger than.
Yeah,
I don't know if I asked you last time. Once your kids get a little bit older and things become a little less chaotic, would you consider getting back into hockey as a coaching or
I always thought I would, but
like at a professional level or maybe a college level?
Honestly, and I don't want to say this the wrong way. The game is so serious now that I don't know how easy it would be. I mean, you'd be
a good assistant because you'd be
I
joking
would
around
be.
with
No, I think I would be, but it's just
You want to travel?
Would you want to
as
do
an
the grind though?
assistant?
That's
In
crazy.
the video they do, video guys
everything.
Are doing,
Well,
it's hard.
now they have video scouts. Now they have like a video team to break everything down with the analytics.
iPads everywhere.
I remember. So when I talked to Todd Richards when I retired, and he wanted to be a coach in Columbus, but he was still thinking I could play one more year, and I was done. And I'm like, am I going to give up a couple $1 million to hang out with the dudes and spend an hour at the rink to take like who knows how much as assistant coach and be at the rink for 17 hours?
Yeah.
So I do love the game, and I actually know more about the game now by coaching my kids. It's kind of scary because the development side of it is taken over because all these young guys that come up. So I think I could, but I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so much more interested. Like I really hope my son wants to play hockey. I'll put him into it.
Yeah.
And you just hope that they enjoy
Absolutely.
it. Which is why I think guys like you are so lucky that your kids get to see you play. That is the best.
Yeah.
But for me, coaching pros and I've never had any desire to. I've never thought I wanted to. But I think coaching 10-year-olds would be awesome because they're coachable.
And they
you get to the
better.
NHL, guys aren't that coachable.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's
these
a lot
kids-
of egos involved at
these
that level
kids,
too.
when they're 9, 10 years old, they love the game, and you can see, like, to be able to coach a kid. I bet you'd say to see a kid get that much better from August to March.
It's
must
crazy.
Be so cool. You're
No,
like,
it's
and I was
crazy.
a part of that.
It's crazy, the development, and I think that's one of the things where, like I said, I've learned so much more now. It's not just okay. Here's the fortune. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like we were so like, even though
Robotic
we had
in a
skill,
way.
we were so like you could still implement. Like kids at the top level learn. They'll absorb that. But you got to work on skills. You got to work on skating. Look at
That's
these
what
guys
that
who
Adam
come
Oates
up.
is popping off right now.
He's unbelievable.
He's breaking things down like no
He
one's
literally,
ever.
Genius,
I think it was
dude.
on your podcast that I listened to it where his whole mental side was about the concussions. Every guy who fumbles a puck, that's normally when they got their head down.
100%.
So he's like, if I work on their skill, they get more comfortable. Not, like I always tell the kids, I'm like, when you ride your bike, do you ride with your head down? You get killed.
Yep.
You cross the street. Do you look both ways, or do you just like walk ahead like that and just go right? I mean, you got to have an awareness.
You have to
like
have it.
everywhere in life.
And if you just go and just play shinny hockey, it's like you just work on your skills, and now you're not going to be able to make it otherwise. You
Yeah.
have to be able to move, and
they're so much better. They're so much better than like even
They're so
like,
good
there's,
now. It's
there's
scary.
some kids on my 10-year-old team and 12-year-old team legitimately have better skill than I ever had. Like
No,
they
I-
do. Like it is crazy. My older boys team when they were U16, they all skated better than we skated. Like
Yep.
they're just everything evolves all the time.
Yeah, because I think a lot more time on the ice is just being spent on skill development, where later on in career, then they start learning structure, which should probably be the way to do it. Because, I mean, you're going to teach fucking 8-year-olds
control
structure?
breakout.
Yeah,
A 1-2-2, 1-2-2.
What is your opinion on now you don't hit till you're like 14?
I
or is
would
it 12?
prefer
Like, what year is it?
13. It'll be 13.
I don't necessarily like that. A lot of people have given pretty good arguments to the other side of why it makes sense, but I don't know. Like all of a sudden, hitting's there, and you're like, nobody knows how to take a hit.
Our 12-year-olds, we do full contact practice.
Okay.
Just because we were like,
Told the parents,
you have
listen.
to be ready. You know what I mean? We have a couple like studs on that team that are bigger, stronger. So it really, actually, believe it or not, prepares the smaller kids for it because they got to go
Makes
against.
them more alert.
Yeah.
Like I said, our team is always a top-ranked team, so we have some studs on this team. So if our kids can play against those guys,
They're going to be
they can
even
play
better
against
off.
anybody.
So all right. So 12 years old. I remember when we played. We had a great team. That's the Quebec year, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. There was hitting then. What is the game like now? Like if a guy's on the wall with the puck, the kid just totally stick checks. They can't touch anyone.
You can totally bump. You can totally bump.
it can't be a huge-
As long as you're going for the puck.
Okay.
You can bump.
So there's a
But
little
if you
contact.
come in with your stick up in the air and body check, it's a check. and
Or
bump.
if a guy's cutting across the middle,
But
you can't.
Like we were just up in we were in Detroit, and one of the Toronto teams was down, and they were like they thought we were the dirtiest team ever just because we were playing the body. But like angling and like grinding them, and they're like,
that's a lot.
you know, and they're like, that's a penalty, and I'm like, no, it's because he's playing the puck.
There's a bit of an issue going on in Canada from at least from what I hear. People have written articles about it that hockey's becoming very expensive there, and it's essentially weeding a lot of these kids out who maybe would have had better high end talent than the ones who could just afford to put their kids. And is that the case for around places like Chicago and St. Louis, or is that why you think why the U.S. program is continuing to get better, where it's more affordable down here and those kids have more access to all these things?
It is less affordable here, but complete different demographics, because not everybody plays hockey in the U.S. Right? In Canada, doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum, you want to play hockey.
Yeah.
Here, it literally is like white collar families that are playing hockey. Like there are
you
not
need
really inner city.
It's,
so it's just kind of
So that's what you're saying. You need money everywhere, but in Canada, everyone wants to play. So many people are missing.
Here, like,
aren't.
you know, between like
that's-
baseball, football, basketball, like most of the best athletes in my neighborhood that I live in are playing like football and baseball. Whereas, so when you get a good stud kid playing hockey, it's a big deal because everyone's like, oh, you should play football, because a lot of the parents here never played hockey.
Yeah.
Especially in Chicago. Boston's a little different.
Yeah.
But Chicago, you know,
is ice time really expensive here?
oh yeah.
Oh,
That's-
I
what
can't
would it cost
imagine
for an
ice
hour of
Johnny's
ice?
Ice
An hour,
House.
like some of these rinks now are like $600 an hour.
Jesus.
Did you see that graphic? Someone in Boston tweeted it out and tagged me in it, and it was an old picture of Frankie Brimsek. He was a goalie for the Bruins in like the 30s, and it said, how much does it cost to outfit a goalie? And it was $135 for all the equipment he had on, and he didn't have a mask on, and they didn't point out the cup, and they actually called the goalie pads shin pads back in the day. $135 to outfit a goalie.
Now,
back
like
then.
skates alone are $1,000.
Yeah.
Sticks, like, so. Luckily, you know, you always try to. One of my buddies, who my oldest boy played with, his dad has always been connected with NHL teams. He's from Buffalo, and he started this company called Pro Stock Hockey. So they get, I think, all the unused equipment from something like 25 teams.
I
and
heard about this.
It's unbelievable.
I heard about
So I buy
this.
all my kids' sticks there for $100, and they're like NHL sticks that are better than the ones you could buy in the hockey shop for $260.
Pro stock.
No free
they're
ads.
only like
Has a
$100.
No
connection
free
to
ads,
the-
Biz.
Fucking shit.
Biz is gonna send
Delete
him a
that.
bill.
Delete
Biz
that.
wants a stick from him.
Biz is gonna be knocking on their door tomorrow. Hey, let's.
Yeah. No, I literally was just there yesterday grabbing sticks for my little guys because he has a deal with Warrior too. So he just, like, you get, like, he hit this little niche. I don't even think he makes a ton of money doing it because the margins aren't massive. It's just these trainers trying to recoup their budget.
Yep.
So he just helps them out. So he has like tens of thousands of sticks, pants, gloves, helmets, everything in this warehouse. And he's just like, and it's kind of a side gig for him because he just loves hockey and loves the NHL.
Yeah.
And he knows a bunch of the trainers now. But like most of my kids, I send them over there. I'm like, man, go buy your stuff. You're saving like hundreds of dollars every time. So there's ways to kind of
finesse
mitigate it a little bit.
yeah.
But
I feel like you should. You've never had any desire to do any TV stuff.
Yeah, you would be unbelievable in
Like,
media.
I don't have a face for television.
Oh yeah, I want to bet. They put
I'm on
me on.
Fuck
NHL
outta
Network.
here.
I got fucking ears that stick out.
He just wanted
Well,
to
you
get
know
his
what?
fucking. He just
I just wanted you guys. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you want
This old guy.
You want us?
Yeah.
You want us to blow your hairline? Yeah, fuck
seriously.
off,
Yeah.
Ogie.
Yeah.
No, but you've never like in between periods type stuff, whatever. Just,
Ironically, Donor and I used to always say we should do something because he's like, he loves to argue every point to the end of the earth.
Yeah.
And I'm like the goofball that will like bust his balls every time
to get him to argue.
Yeah. So we were always like, we should do something, and then I end up moving. So
Then you had 19 kids.
Yeah,
Oh,
had a
God,
brood.
I would-
he's got almost as many as me.
Think of how many
Yeah.
long discussions Shane Doan had at
just
the
goes-
rink. He would be in his.
Loved it.
He would be in his.
No, it would be like 2 a.m. after a loss, and he would still be in there talking to somebody about something.
But one play during the
Yes.
game. That's all.
And
We got to
he-
have him back on.
He's so,
Oh,
but
he's
he was so
always great.
genuine. Like, there's no
Yeah.
agenda with him. Where some guys, it's like an angle, and he's just like, "Oh no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but no." And he would just keep going.
The only thing he got really stubborn about were like when he would legit do something dirty.
Oh yeah,
He never thought
he
it
would
was
never
dirty.
admit it.
He would admit it.
Never.
He would do things
remember?
on the. He was a bull, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember when like one of my, I don't have very many bad memories about the NHL, but the one I had, because a lot of teams I played on would get beat by Detroit because they were in their heyday. Like, and they literally, and I know this firsthand because when Chris Osgood came to the Islanders on waivers, he never said a word for the first 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden he's like, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, why do we keep getting all these penalties? I'm like, dude, you're not in Detroit. He goes, not one of those would have ever been a penalty in Detroit. Like he's like legitimately because of Iserman, Shane, like all the studs, right? And Scotty Bowman,
Special treatment.
Oh yeah.
So
wow.
then I don't know if you remember this, but we had a meeting before one of our playoffs when we were in Phoenix in the league, and it was probably Daly or whoever comes down.
Yeah, we
He's
played them back-to-back years in playoffs.
He literally
first
goes,
round.
okay, he had a list of all of us. Doan, you're not allowed to hit to hurt people. Aucoin, you can't use your free hand on one-on-ones. Like Detroit literally gave them a list of shit we did that they said was unacceptable.
Oh my god!
And they're already fucking a rigged game, anyways. They're already stacked.
And I would, remember I would get matched up against their top line, and they had Holmstrom in front of the net. Every time I touch him, he would go down. I get a penalty.
Yeah, we got bent over on the calls. Donor was
and
fuming.
like I said, I don't think the refs are bad. I love NHL referees. It's the toughest gig in the world. They're always scrutinized. Actually, a good story. So Steve Walkham, who's the head of refs, I don't know if I should tell this, but
you already are.
His daughter plays against my daughter. He's in Pittsburgh, and he was coaching for a while. And the next year he wasn't coaching. I'm like, what's the deal? And he goes, I can't coach this all. And our girls are like, I think my daughter's team now, they're probably ranked like number 2 or 3 in the nation. Like good. Like almost every one of these girls is going to get a scholarship.
Hey, you mind coming in a cup before you leave? I might need some help later on.
So he goes, I couldn't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, these fucking refs are so bad. I'm like, oh, dude, you're an NHL ref. Can you even say it? He goes, I think that, and I don't know if I get the story right. I think one time he was chirping a ref during a game, and he goes, maybe if you get good enough, you'll be able to coach boys hockey at some point. I'm like, you didn't. He goes, that's when I knew I couldn't do it. And I can't quote him directly because it could get him in trouble, but I think that's what he told me.
Well, the ref's like, this is ref on ref crime. Shut the fuck up. You're a ref.
Same guy didn't know Pat Kane scored the cup winner.
Yeah. But Walkham is he's actually one of my favorite. He was probably, remember they took him off the ice and he became head of refs.
Yeah.
But he literally is, I thought he was one of the best refs.
No, he was too good. They had to bring him back.
They brought him back because he talked to the players. He was very honest with them.
That's what Kerry Fraser talked about when he came on. It's just that like how early in his career he was more stubborn.
Oh yeah.
Where later on he developed relationship with guys because it was just better communication.
And Kerry took a shitload of heat, but I loved him.
I loved
one time he miscalled something, I don't remember, and I snapped. And I didn't snap on referees that much. No. I lost it, and he was threatening to kick me out of the game, and I was like, you're fucking too old, you like suck, you should be out of this game, whatever. Next game he comes up to me, come here, and I'm like, oh great, here we go. I want to apologize first of all for making the wrong call, but never call me too old again. And I was like, all right, I'm sorry. He goes,
seen my hair?
Yeah, he's like, we're even. I'm like, done.
Nice.
So he was a pretty funny guy.
Well,
what
dude,
the fuck? We've covered a lot.
Dude,
what else you got?
Dude,
Right?
70 minutes, I think.
What?
Oh, yeah. We've
See, that's what it goes
minutes,
by.
yeah.
It's that felt like 20 minutes.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, buddy. It's awesome, and keep a lookout for your son. Hopefully everything goes great.
Dude,
this
when
year.
you come down to Harvard, man, we'll grab a beer.
I 100%
I'll
will.
take
Even
you
if he doesn't go there, I'm still coming down.
I'll take you on a murder tour of Boston and show you some spots.
And you can meet Sean Bates.
Yeah.
I don't think he leaves his house though.
We're having Bates. I wonder if he'd come on. I really hope so.
I think I texted him one time driving through the town like years ago, and I never got a reply. So I don't.
New phone.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Thank you so much.
You're the best.
All right, thanks guys.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Thanks again to Boinkies for their support of Spittin Chiclets and the ECHL Player Relief Fund. Make sure to check out boinkies.com and enter promo code BIZ20 for 20% off all their products. We out.